Okay, this video is for Xena Corporation. This is a person, I guess Xena is, but it's exercise 1010, and they're working on the budget, and they've got a budgeted variable manufacturing overhead of 37.7, budgeted fixed of 52.2 to support a planned volume of 5,800 units. So what I did was I wrote down all of the budget here. Like, there's variable overhead, fixed overhead for 5,800 units. And the machine hour cost driver is $1.25, 1.25 machine hours per unit. Okay, and then these are our actual costs, and they're in the next paragraph. So we've got they used 1,930 machine hours to produce 1,500 units. Okay, 1,500 units. And what else do we have? Actual variable manufacturing overhead was 93.50. I lost that. Oh yeah, this was a sort of a complicated problem, wasn't it? Yeah, the actual variable overhead was 90. Let's see. At the end of the first quarter, they used 1,930 machine hours to make 1,500 units. Actual variable MOH was 93.50 so far, and total fixed MOH cost thus far totaled 12.5. So this project, or this case, or problem is looking just at variable overhead and fixed overhead. So it's, it's kind of targeted in those areas, and that's good. And the first thing they want to know is to calculate the budgeted variable MOH rate per machine hour and the standard variable MOH cost per unit. Okay, and then do the same for fixed. So the budgeted machine hours, okay, would have, for variable overhead, would have been the budgeted units of 5,800 units times 1.25 machine hours, or 72.50. Okay, so then the budgeted variable overhead would have been 37.7. 37.7 was our budget, divided by 72.50 budgeted machine hours, or $5.20 per machine hour. But variable manufacturing overhead per machine hour. Yeah. Okay. And then the budgeted fixed overhead was 52.2. That's the total year, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, for 5,800 units. So we're going to divide that by 72.50 machine hours, and that would give us a fixed overhead rate of 720. So now at this point, you've got a variable manufacturing overhead rate and a fixed MOH rate. Okay, so our standard cost then, okay, that would be a cost per unit, would be for variable would be 1.25 hours. Okay, that was our cost driver, 1.25 times the 520 variable manufacturing overhead hours gives you $6.50 of standard variable overhead per unit. Okay, and then for fixed overhead, it's the same 1.25 hours times 720, our new rate. That gives us $9 as our standard per unit. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. And then if we do the variances on this, here's our actual variable overhead. The unnamed, the AQAP or SP column is here. That's 1,930 machine hours. That's our actual machine hours, right? 1930? Yeah, actual machine hours times $5.20, the rate per machine hour that we calculated before gives us 10,036. So we came in at 93.50, so that's a favorable price variance of 686. And then to look at efficiency, what do we have here? My flexible budget would say, okay, we produced 1,500 units. That's our actual volume, and it should have been 1.25 machine hours. 1.25 machine hours per unit times $5.20. That's our variable manufacturing overhead rate per unit. Okay, so the difference between these, we spent more than what the budget was, so that would be a $286 unfavorable variance. Okay, now let's look at the fixed overhead. This is our actual, is 12.5. Okay, the actual overhead is 12.5, and the budget would be 52.2 for the year, and this is just the quarter, so we just straight lined it. We just took the 52.2 divided by 4. I don't know how else you'd do it, So 13,050 compared to 12.5, this would be a favorable variance because we spent less, so a favorable price variance. And now we go over to what's been applied, and we had actually, 1,500 actual units, right? Lost it again. 12.5 is our actual fixed overhead, and our budget was 52,200 for 4 quarters or a full year. So we're gonna just cut it down and take a quarter of it. Okay, which kind of makes sense. Okay, it's pretty close to this, so that's a good thing. And our this would be a favorable variance because we spent less than what the budget was. So now let's look at what we applied. We would have had 1,500 actual units. That's what we'd use. Our standard rate is 1.25 machine hours per unit times $7.20. That was our fixed manufacturing overhead rate. So that gives us 13,500. Now let's see, we applied 13.5 and the budget was 13,050, so that would give us a $450 favorable variance. Okay? And that's it. Yeah.